Hey guys, and welcome to LITTLEBLACKBOOK91. We are here with Nancy Cleveland. We are having a conversation, a sit down, and talking about obviously mental health, talking about relationships, and a little sprinkle and dash about Married at First Sight. Yes, you may recognize her as the friend of Paige on Married at First Sight season 12, and she said some very famous words. You're more than just ovaries, yes, which made her, I guess, one of the fans' favorite because we had so much to say and appreciate the fact that you were so vocal about a certain person who may not be named. And we appreciate you because of that. So today's conversation, please, audience, I want you to keep it respectful in the chat. It's not a tea. You know, you come to my channel and I say this every single time. It is not a tea, okay? Because your mugs are going to be empty and dry today with tea, okay? We're talking real stuff now about relationships, mental health. We'll talk a little bit about Married at First Sight, and we'll want to get to know who Nancy Cleveland is. Nancy Cleveland, you can unmute. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I'm just a little nervous, but I'm ready to be here.
I appreciate it. No need to be nervous. We're excited to have you on the show today. But before we go any further, I like to do something called human verification. It's just a way that we'll be able to know that, you know, whoever's in front of us is truly a human. So I've got 3 questions as always. I've got a riddle, okay. I've got some song lyrics, and I've got a question to ask. And I'll start first of all.
Beginning with this, okay. Cool.
Oh yeah, girl. We're gonna go hard. You know, straight from the beginning. All right, cool. So let's start off with my lovely riddle. My riddle goes like this: I am 4 times as old as my daughter. In 20 years' time, I shall be twice as old as her. How old are we now?
That sounded like a math problem, not a riddle.
Listen, this is a math riddle.
Can somebody help me back and out in the comments? Like,
you want to get a 50? You want a little audience participation?
Yes. Like, can I get a lifeline? Like, what is going on?
Let me say it again one more time for you. In fact, let me even put it on so you can even see it. Let me so you can even see it. It might be a little bit more clear if you see it.
Trying to buy time.
Okay. So here we go. I am 4 times as old as my daughter. In 20 years' time, I shall be twice as old as her. How old are we now? I'm not gonna lie to you, I would never get this answer. So,
I mean, how let's say we're just being born.
I can tell you the ages. The mother is. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you, because me, I was like, I was like, even me when I read it. So the mother is actually 40 and the child is 10.
I was going to say 10 out of nowhere, but I realized that really was. Next thing, this is terrible. I can't believe you just did this to me.
I'm so sorry,
guys. I did.
No worries. I've got some song lyrics that I want you to tell me who the artist and the song is. Okay. Some song lyrics, okay? And the song lyrics go, I like your little sexy style. Love it when you're getting wild. Girl in the club with me.
I like your little sexy style. Love it when you're getting wild. Girl.
Girl in the club with me. Come over here. Let me talk to you for a minute.
Was it Love in the Club?
No.
No.
Try again. You got it. Come over here. Let me talk to you for a minute. I got to tell you something.
You're trying to feel a beat in my head or something.
Girl, you need to be in the magazines.
Oh, someone said BTK.
I mean, they would be right, yes.
Oh, bop. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I'm 32, so I should have known that. But, you know, thank you to the viewers.
I love it, man. Do you know what I mean? I love it. Yeah. So, my last question is, does the milk go in or does the cereal go in first? Which one goes into the bowl?
Cereal. I can answer that. Cereal goes first and then you pour the milk. If you want it to stay crunchy, push it to the side. It's my cereal.
Jeez, okay. Expertise up in here. So put it to the side.
There's actually a bowl, honestly,
Uh-huh.
that is like shaped like that. Like the cereal's on one side and the milk is on the other, and you can like dip it in. Check it
We
on
must hear of
Amazon,
this.
guys. Check
We
it on
must hear of
Amazon.
this. We must hear of this. I will be going to purchase one.
See, I got
Definitely.
my cereal people here. This is good.
Someone said milk, period.
Right. I was just making fun of my best friend because I found out that she still drinks milk, and I was completely shocked. So.
Some of us drink oat milk around here, so we've changed our ways.
I'm an almond milk girl. I get it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I got you. Oh, the human verification is done. You know, let's get down into the conversation. Let's get to know who Nancy Cleveland is. You know, thank you again once more for accepting this conversation with myself as well. Nancy, I like to ask people all the time when we get on this show, you know, who is Nancy Cleveland and what is her story?
Okay, so try to summarize it very quickly. I, Nancy Cleveland, am the program manager for a nonprofit right now called One World Link. It's based out of Atlanta, Georgia, but I actually work and serve in Macon, Georgia, overseeing a team of AmeriCorps members that serve here in this area. Outside of my day-to-day 9-to-5 job, I run a nonprofit called Macon Headspace, and I also organize a walk called Macon Freedom for All, and I'm actively involved in doing Macon Mental Health Matters initiatives and dib and dabble in some type of advertising marketing consulting. So those are pretty much the different hats that I wear, and my main like passion is mental health advocacy, and that's why I'm here today with you.
Love that. And I love the fact that you finished on the last sentence, which is the mental health advocacy as well. Because obviously we know why we're here. Obviously we saw you on Married at First Sight. We know
different hair. It's still me though.
It's still you. Do you know what I'm saying? And we know that obviously you were friends with Paige, and on this channel we've spoken so much about mental health and spoken about healthy relationships. But before we go a little bit further into that kind of conversation, I want to ask this question because obviously, like I said, I want to get to know you a little bit better and understand why you're vying for more healthy relationships and wanting to fight so hard for mental health within relationships. So, like, take us back a little bit. Like, what was your childhood like? What was your upbringing like? Who was Nancy Cleveland when she was a kid?
Okay, so I was born in Macon, Georgia, but I was raised in the Bronx. And a lot of people may wonder, how did you get from Macon to New York? I was actually taken by Child Protective Services when I was 2 months old, which in Georgia is known as DFACS. So DFACS took me when I was 2 months, and because of processes there, I basically was in foster care from 2 months to 3 years old. I then was adopted, luckily, by my birth mother's sisters who had relocated to the Bronx, and I ended up growing up in the Bronx from when I was 3 to I think I was around like 26 or so when I finally decided to move back to Macon. When I got back to Macon, my mother, my birth mother, had been living on the streets of Macon for over 30 years with a drug addiction and a mental illness. I was able to get adult legal guardianship of her and pretty much adopt my birth mom. And it was the best thing that I could have done for her because I was able to get her off the streets, and she's been clean and sober for 3 years now. In that time, though, I was so mentally drained, and I went through so much like psychological, I don't even know what to call it, like learning how to take care of someone that hadn't taken care of me and dealing with resentment and all these other things, that I was like, I want to help people have more access to mental health resources, whether it be people like myself who are just going through things that need help, or people like my mom who are actually diagnosed and may need help getting treatment. And so that led me to found my nonprofit, Macon Headspace.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So you've been from quite a bit, you know, in your youth, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite intrigued, obviously, because you mentioned about, I think you said DFACS. Is it DFACS they call it?
Yes, they call it DFACS for sure.
So obviously, so that's when you're 2, right? So that's when you're considered young.
When I was 2 months old. So I was still a baby. I was just a couple of months old and I was taken. And I think that, I share this background and my story not to be like, okay, this is, who I am only, but to show that that's why I'm very sensitive to seeing any type of trauma, or I recognize like situations where there needs to be more of a conversation about mental wellness. And I saw that throughout this process. And I saw my friend being bashed. I saw her, really struggling to not only deal with the process, but understand what had happened. And I just saw a lot of people not understanding what they were seeing and being very triggered by what they were seeing.
Yeah.
And that to me made me realize like people have their own trauma that they're not talking about, but watching it, bringing it up for them. And then because we don't really have all the language to talk about it, especially in the Black community, we usually don't talk about these things at all, or they happen behind closed doors. People are getting triggered by this and they're attacking instead of opening the door for a courageous conversation. So I took it upon myself to be like, I'm going to go out there and help change the conversation and tell people, how to view trauma and how to view what they're seeing in this season and how to kind of discuss it. And hopefully, we'll still have people that bash us. We'll still have people that don't understand, but hopefully more people can share what's happening to them and more people can kind of have these conversations with their loved ones.
I love the fact that you linked it back to Married at First Sight, because I think Paige herself would have gone through her own traumatic experience, but also I think for us as an audience, we went through we went through our own. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was on lives with my team, and every week we get to He Who Must Not Be Mentioned and Paige, and we were like, and it just went zoom. And it's got really deep real quick. And it's because a lot of people have actually experienced really unhealthy relationships, very toxic relationships. And, like you were saying, we're seeing somebody on the screen and we are relating to them. And we're like, oh my gosh, and it's triggering things in ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And it was difficult to watch at points, right? Because as an audience, we feel that. Go for it, yeah.
Honestly, I feel like it was like, from reading the comments and then, going through it and then watching it again is like going through it twice on the, right? So reading the comments and watching it and going through it, you're like, it's like watching a horror movie. And you're just like, run, girl, run. And then, or don't open the door. And like, they open the door. And so you're just like, ah. And so I just, again, from my history with my mother, I just was like, I kind of see where I hopefully can offer a little bit more language and understanding of what's happening. And like, also what really, really, really also motivated me to want to speak out more is like, it's easier to watch someone, and bash them for their decisions, but it's harder to have those conversations with the people you know and love, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's so many people that are mad at Paige, but like, what about all the people who are sitting home, not leaving? And you know these people, or you've been those people. And some statistics I wanted to talk about is,
go for it.
Every minute, approximately 20 people are victims of physical abuse by an intimate partner in the U.S. Okay? On average, husbands or boyfriends are responsible for the murders of more than 3 women each day. The National Domestic Violence Hotline receives over 27,000 calls for help every month. And each year, over 10 million Americans are subjected to psychological and physical abuse from the people they love and trust the most. Those numbers alone should rock anyone, but I can give you more because it actually gets worse for women, young girls, 16 to 24. 33% of those women or teens were in an abusive relationship and never told anyone about it. And these numbers are coming from online services like Love is Respect, the national resource to disrupt and prevent unhealthy relationships, and also the Domestic Violence National Hotline networks page. Again, if you go further and like really tie it into just mental health and how physical and emotional abusive relationships like affect your mental health, 57% of people who responded to surveys, this is through mentalhealth.net now, said that they felt fearful or uncomfortable in current relationships. And 56% of them are 25 to 34. So we have a high number of people who have felt fearful in their current relationship. 87% said that they felt fearful or uncomfortable in past relationships. But then again, if you go back to that previous statistic I read, 33% of people never told people about it. And then it's not just for women either. Over 1 in 3 women, over 1 in 4 men, and over 1 in 2 trans or non-binary people will be in an abusive relationship. These statistics are coming from One Love, and that's a New York State nonprofit that educates young people about healthy and unhealthy relationships. And so I know I'm getting nervous and I'm reading a lot of numbers.
No, these numbers
I
are
will
good.
share all this information on, my Macon Headspace page if people want to go back and fact check me. And then when you drive all that information into 2020 and the pandemic, domestic violence increased 8.1% during the pandemic. They actually called it the pandemic during the pandemic or something like that. And that's based on international numbers, studies, and U.S. studies that they did. And so it's a worldwide problem. It's a national problem. It's a state, local problem. And I'm just like, why don't people talk about this? And for me, why would you talk about it when you're being shamed? When people are creating a space where they're calling you stupid, they're calling you an idiot, they're telling you how they would have did everything better than you, why would you then leave? And it's so much shame. You kind of feel like you can't leave, like you got to prove people wrong or something like that. And I'm just seeing all these things play out in the show, and I'm seeing all these things play out in my real life with people. I know people who have been in domestic violence relationships. I've stood in between a man trying to hit his girlfriend and me trying to stop them. I've had a friend with a black eye telling me she fell out and hit her face on the car door. I've had friends with this non-physical abuse, because the abuse that we're seeing in abusive relationships is not always physical.
Yeah.
There's sexual, there's verbal, there's emotion. Yep. There's reproductive, there's threats, there's intimidation, there's isolation. And when you start going through those different things, you get different symptoms. You get very intense conversations, very volatile conversations. You get possessiveness, manipulation. And manipulation is very subtle, but try to guilt trip you, make you feel bad, or gaslight you, make you not remember things the way they were done, or they belittle you and they sabotage you. They try to isolate you from family and friends. You see these things happening, things are happening to you, and we're not leaving. And so I just wanted to start talking about those things that were happening, and then basically try to move people to resources. I mean, there's so many more organizations out there that are specifically dedicated to helping people with unhealthy relationships and getting out of unhealthy relationships. One of the oldest ones around is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They call it the Hotline for short. On February 21st, 2021, just a couple months ago, it celebrated its 25 years of providing these services to people. You can text them at 1-800-799-SAFE, or that's 1-800-799-7233. You can text START and be connected with someone that will help you shift power back and get out of these relationships. And they have a separate kind of subsidiary called Love is Respect that's geared toward people between 13 and 26. Okay, because you're seeing such a high increase with those girls between 16 and 24. So you can text Love Is to 22522. Again, Love Is to 22522 if you're in between those ages of 13 and 24. And they'll help you get connected to someone and get you out of that situation. And there's another organization, One Love, that I mentioned earlier, some statistics. They also will train you to do workshops to talk and teach people about having healthy relationships. They're even doing a film fellowship and partner with Allstate Foundation to get people to do films on how to show us how to have more healthy, loving relationships. And then I know people locally. One of my line sisters, Neka Obiekwe, she started an organization called Vanity. Vanity teams up with beauty providers, makeup artists, hairstylists, to help them recognize the signs of abuse. Because with women, those are usually going to be the first people to notice that when you're trying to cover the black eye or get the bangs to cover it. And she trains them. She actually goes to the army and trains people about how to recognize these signs. And there's a lot more resources out there once you start looking. So that's me on my soapbox and kind of talking really fast. So I will basically
that's cool.
wind down and dissect everything I said, but pretty much like when I told Paige, you're more than just a beautiful woman with ovaries, I meant it. And I feel like all women are more than just a beautiful woman with ovaries, and we need to not be treated like that, and we need to recognize what abuse looks like. With He Who Must Not Be Named, we saw a lot of these different examples without. And I think that's amazing, because you usually don't see these things because they happen behind closed doors.
And this is the key part of the conversation that I think is very, very important, because this is, as you're kind of speaking, you're about to go into a very good tangent, which I think we should really go down that lane. Is that because we're talking about something that's happened on TV, and it's given us an untapped coverage that we often don't get to have. And what it did was expose something that usually is behind closed doors that we get to ignore. So, for instance, your friend, like you were saying earlier on, your friend could be in a situation, or someone could be in a situation, and we might ignore it because it's behind closed doors, and we don't get enough information sometimes to make that decision to be able to say something, right? And I think because it was on TV, and as an audience, we trusted the experts, and we're like, bro, we're thinking they're gonna do it right. So now when we're seeing this, it's compounded the frustration, especially as being black people too. We're probably looking at our sister going, this is our sister. And we're seeing this happen in front of us, and it's shocking. Like, it shocks you, it shocks your system. Just by the way, if anyone's joining this interview, I want to let you know there is no tea. I know some of you are commenting, we're not here for the tea, we're here to educate. It's a mental health awareness month, and I really want to be able to have this conversation about relationships and mental health. So just want to be able to let you guys know ahead of time, if you're joining this particular conversation, it is not a tea spilling session. So if you do want to have the tea being spilt, you might want to go somewhere else. But I think what you're touching on right now, you gave some really great facts. Even in the UK, we saw a spike in domestic violence. I guess you were going down a good tangent, which I think we can talk about. You were speaking about how it was on TV and we got to see it, and it was no longer behind the scenes in a such. Talk to us a little bit more about that. Talk to us a little bit more about it. You were going down the lane and I kind of stopped you a little bit.
Yes. Well, basically, I could see things and really watching it back, because I'm not, after the wedding, you don't see me. And that's for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know the depth of everything that was going on. But from what was experienced after the wedding night, I was like, oh, we in for a ride. And I had no idea what that would end up looking like. And so watching this back with the audience and seeing what my friend went through, I'm just like, okay, look at the gaslighting and look at all of these, just like you could read the book of The Art of Seduction and figure out half of the stuff that's done, bring them low, bring them high, and all that stuff. And I'm just like, as it's happening to someone I love, it was really easy for me to shift out of victim blaming. Yeah. Because, a part of me could have just sat there like everybody else, like, girl, what in the world? That's not what I was on the phone telling you. I was, but it was like, that staying in that space clearly is not helping her. And then I started thinking about myself. There's been a lot of F-boys that I gave too much time to, that I should have walked away from, that my friends were over here like, girl, I don't even want to hear it no more. Here you go again. And then I started questioning myself, why did I stay? I wasn't on TV. I wasn't getting paid. Like, what was going on there? And then I started really thinking, like, man, abuse is abuse. Trauma is trauma. It works. And the thing is, me questioning why did she do this and why did she do this or why did I do that? It's not stopping that 13-year-old girl who's getting lured into something right now, or who's getting abused and not walking away right now. It's not going to help me with my daughter, with my nieces. And so, especially after going through what I went through with my mom, it would be very easy for me to have just left her on the street and been like, okay, I'll go to her funeral and say, oh, my mom, died from this, and, never really be a part of changing her narrative. But that's just not who I am. So for me, I'm just like, okay, how can I like get out there and talk about these things in a way that changes, again, the narrative? And so I started researching why other people have said why they haven't left. And again, if you go back to mentalhealth.net, they talk about physically and emotionally abusive relationships. There's so much stuff all over the place. People saying they thought they could fix it. They were insecure. They thought they were in love. It didn't start that way, so they thought it would end on a better note, or they didn't think that they could do better, or this was their first real serious relationship or first marriage or whatever it is. And these are responses from people that they surveyed through this mentalhealth.net. So again, you have to ask Paige specifically what was going on in her head. But for me, I'm just like, I see.
So if we can't get the gist of Paige's background. But you mentioned that you also were in a relationship where it became a little bit abusive. I think you mentioned. Was that correct?
Say that one more time.
Did you mention that you were also in a relationship where you stayed in a toxic relationship? You said.
I don't think I've ever been in such a degree of this, but yes, definitely have been with some F-boys that like, they're dating me, or we're, sleeping together, and they don't want to make things official, and we're doing this.
Why did you stay? What made you stay?
Personally, for me, it was insecurity. Insecurity that stemmed from two thoughts. One, am I gonna do better than this? No, from three thoughts. Am I gonna do better than this? Is this something that I deserve? Based on past trauma, like being adopted, that not being wanted, feelings and emotions. I've been in a lot of therapy for this. So, it left me holding on to like, this is the best I could get, or him not acting right or acting loving is what I deserve because I'm tainted, I'm adopted. My mom was a drug addict. Like, I'm looking at myself as less than, or I starting to like be in some weird competition with myself, and that like where it's like, no, I'm going to show you that I am amazing and that you should have picked me, and that, and then once you do that, I'm going to feel that validation that you've been withholding this whole time. So that
I like that point. I need to know a bit more about that mindset. I think that is something that I have seen in the wilderness, I would like to say, right? What is that thought about where you're trying to prove that I am this, I am good, you should want me? Talk to us about that mindset a little bit. What is that mindset?
Well, one thing I can say about that mindset is like I have my own insecurities, as many women do, and I had a lot of those insecurities arise even being asked to be a part of the show. I was like, on TV for everybody to see? Oh, I don't know. And so I agreed to be in the wedding, and I'm big. And I was so mad at you in the beginning because you referred to me as the big one. And I was like, man, they don't even know my name. I'm just a big black girl. I hate this. But anyway, like going back to, that's my own insecurity, right? I was worried because I was like, I'm going to be the biggest bridesmaid. We're not going to find a dress that all fits us, blah, blah, blah. Ended up finding a dress, got on the show. Y'all saw everything that happened. Later on, during the show being aired, I was starting to get into arguments on social media with him who must not be named. And he said things that triggered me, like, oh, I knew who you were when I saw you walking down the aisle in that dress that was too small. Or posted a picture of me from Instagram and made fun of my glasses, how big they were. Real childish type stuff. But it was like making me feel those like insecurities. So me not wanting to sit in that space, I'm like, I'm gonna speak out, I'm gonna lash out, I'm gonna say something. And it just wasn't the right place, it wasn't the right way. And that's why I kind of toned down and said, I'm gonna come back now when I'm able to speak more and change this conversation to focus on that mental health stuff. And so for me, I think that I am dealing with that ongoing insecurity. And like, I even lost track of your question a little bit because I was sharing so much. But I think for me, like, I wouldn't have the balls to do something like this because I would feel like a man probably wouldn't, I don't know if a man would want me if they saw me at first sight, you know, because I'm not very curvaceous or thin or this American standard of beauty. I had locks too and all this other stuff. I was like, I wouldn't even sign nobody up for that. Like, and also I already know I'm a little off the hinges, so you should just get to know me before you dive up in there. So like, you know, but so those thoughts were in my head, but I still agreed to support my friend. So it's like, I just know how my insecurity played a factor in how I showed up, how I felt, and then also just not being someone that like really put themselves out there a lot for insecurity. Because of those insecurities, I wasn't very versed in makeup, and I didn't even know, oh my God, women, do not bash me, I'm telling you the truth. I didn't even know what my color was. I didn't know what my right foundation color was. And that's a big thing in the makeup world. Like, you know, your whole world can go down the drain with the wrong color. So it just, I wasn't a person that was very focused on beauty and all these other things. And then bam, you're on national TV. And so I was getting triggered by those comments and also like other people's comments. Like, someone said on Twitter, like, if you add up all of Paige's bridesmaids, they're about as ugly as she is, or something like that. Yes, and that was a Black woman in a sorority, and my line sister got on there arguing with her, and it was just like little things like that. And I'm like, all I did was agree to be the bridesmaid that I didn't even want to go on TV and be, and y'all bashing me too. I didn't know what he was going to do or say, and I feel like him even making the comments he did made this whole thing about our looks, and we just regular Black chicks out here trying to find love, like, or support our friends in finding love. Like, why is this happening right now? So again, it made me want to pull back and like go back to like talking about how to change this conversation and kind of shift the narrative. And I want not only you know, myself, but the entire Black community to take this opportunity to uplift rather than condemn Paige, to not do so much victim blaming, to the men, women, or others in their life that might be in situations like this. So those people feel more comfortable sharing their stories and leaving. And then, again, we also don't see the trauma and abuse shown so clearly. So now that we have these excellent examples, I can literally sit down with my niece and be like, listen, if somebody do all this, you know what I'm saying? And I was out there, again, being adopted, not growing up with my birth mom, my aunts raising me. I didn't really have strong male figures in my life. I didn't have a father figure. So I feel like as I got older and I started getting male friends that are close to me, they was putting me on game. Put me on game that I would have never got from any other perspective but a man, about what men do to women or how they treat women or how they kind of that you can kind of, and I'm not gonna say you, like some men or whatever, you have the ability to like kind of categorize women. Like, this one has daddy issues, this one's fast, this one is wifey material, whatever it is. We don't even realize we're being categorized like that sometimes. And so
I'm part of that group. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm part of that group. We do categorize. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. So you're on the point.
So there were so many times that I was just being categorized as like, you know, jump off material or whatever it was. And I did not even realize it was because I'm putting myself out there in a way that's like desperate for love. And it's because I'm not getting, I'm not aware of what I'm doing. I'm texting too much. I'm, you know, I'm just doing too much. I don't really have concrete examples of it, but like, you know, and no one ever told me that to my face, so please don't take my name and be like, she was the jump off girl. But like, my point is like, I just know that men weren't taking me seriously, and I did not really get it until I started again doing a lot of research with this whole process and like reading into these abuse and trauma statistics, talking to other women. And I've had other women come since I've been having these conversations, tell me like, seeing Paige and listening to you, or just like seeing what happened, it made me have the confidence to leave my husband. It made me realize the abuse that I was going through that I wasn't addressing or whatever. But I also have the people that are just like, everybody's stupid. Like, why? And again, I don't have all the answers to why. I just want us to have a conversation.
Sorry, because obviously I was listening intently, and I want to make sure I just wanted to make sure I heard it correctly.
Right, and I go fast, I get nervous, and
no. It's not that you go fast. I just want to make sure I heard what I heard. You know what I'm saying? Because you said obviously somebody made comments, and I wasn't sure if we were still talking about maybe a past partner, or were you talking about the fact that the person who shouldn't be named said some really, really poor comments about you on the show?
No, this is past partners. This is past life. And like, to me, I'm also assuming a lot there, because men don't come to you and tell you, I'm gonna treat you like to jump off. So in my head, I'm assuming that they may have said these things, or they weren't categorizing me as wifey material because I was showing up in a way that made them feel like, oh, this is daddy issues 101. I don't want to deal with her in that way. And I had to have a lot of conversations with my guy friends, or with my therapist, or even with some past partners, to be like, what was I doing, or what was I saying, or how was I being, or holding, or conducting myself in a way that you wouldn't have taken me as seriously, or that you chose not to be with me, or we only were physical and we didn't get into a committed, close relationship. And that was the work that I had to do personally for myself. But in that work, I realized that men, they categorized me, and I didn't realize. And they had this insight and this knowledge and this depth about who I was and how I was showing up from our interactions that I did not realize. And so that was my own journey.
Is that okay? So since we are talking about that and in relationships, is that something that you've seen? Because I know men, and some of us men. When I say us, as in men collective, have predatory instincts. What I mean by that is that they're always on the hunt, so they are looking for vulnerabilities, right? So just like a lion looks for the person at the back of the pack, it's the same way that certain men will be looking for certain women with certain vulnerabilities or chinks in the armor. And I think you mentioned something about not knowing how you showed up. Is that something that as you're doing the work you're doing, you're realizing that maybe women, and it's just, again, it's not necessarily every woman, it's just, we're talking about a collective in a sense of that whenever we get into these kind of relationships where they can be toxic or abusive or manipulative, is there a portion of that is that they don't know how they show up?
In my opinion, and then I'm just going to go back and repeat a statistic from earlier. From One Love, that New York State nonprofit, they say 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men, and 1 in 2 trans or non-binary people will be in abusive relationships. So I think humans in general are not fully aware of how they're showing up. I think a lot of times we're having conversations in our head, and it's not really translating to the people through our actions, words, and behaviors. And it reminds me of something my aunt, hey Aunt Ann up in the sky, she passed away some years ago. She used to say to me all the time, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I think what she meant by that is, like, a lot of times we have all these great intentions, and I'm just trying to keep it real, I'm just trying to be honest, I'm just trying to share whatever, and you might be trying to do all that, but it's still not being interpreted or comprehended by people in the way that you intend. So we really must do a better job of learning how to communicate in a way that we want other people to get it. Because we're always hearing ourselves, we are hearing, especially, this is a perfect example with you and I, because you're from the UK, I'm from, I want to say New York, I'm in Georgia right now, but I'm from the Bronx. And so it's like, we're interpreting what each other is saying through our own definition and understanding of those words.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard in the UK you call the elevator a lift.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we call it a lift. Yeah.
Okay, only lift I got in America is the other Uber.
Yeah.
you
I get
know,
you.
or if I ask somebody to come give me a lift, they're gonna pick me up in the car. It's nowhere in my mind am I thinking about an elevator if I say come give me a lift, or I need to get a lift or whatever. So when that's a extreme example because we're from two different countries, but in everyday lives, you're telling someone I want to be in a relationship, or you're not treating me well, or this feels abusive, or I'm traumatized from stuff that happened in my past, and they don't even comprehend you. They're not truly getting what you're saying, or you're going out there with the intention of not hurting people's feelings, or with the intention of just keeping it real and telling your truth, and you out there traumatizing people, messing people up, leading people to suicide. The suicide rate has increased drastically lately too.
Mm.
You're harming people, psychological damage for years because you was keeping it real or wanted to share your truth. So I think that humans in general, gay, straight, bi, otherwise, we're not being honest with ourselves about how
So
we're truly showing up to people, and then we go home and tell ourselves that we were a great person that night, and we were not. We're not. And you got to just have those introspective moments with yourself first, I guess, because that's what I had to do. I wasn't, and I'm still not great. That's one thing I definitely want to say. I'm not a life coach. I'm not no relationship expert, and I'm not even a licensed mental health practitioner or anything like that.
you're passionate.
Exactly. I'm passionate, and I went through a crazy behind life that led me to care. And I want to make sure people have easy access to these resources, because when you are depressed or anxious or going through grief, the last thing you want to do is be looking up resources and calling people and scheduling appointments and all this. So I just want to make it easier for people to get to those providing the help. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Obviously, you were on Married at First Sight as a friend of Paige, and so I'll only talk about what you were on. I don't want to talk anything outside of that. You yourself, obviously, I mean, obviously, you saw what you saw, and in your head, when you saw what you saw, how did you interpret the information that you were seeing?
Oh, so what y'all have seen is that I was in the wedding.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't there anymore because I'm just very sensitive to trauma, and the way he treated her after the wedding night, it was enough for me. I gotta go for me. And then also because I feel this need to defend my friend. That's the reason why I even got into any back and forth on social media with anybody, because I just felt like I have an NDA and I can't speak out as much.
Of course, yeah.
But even the people who didn't sign an NDA, where's everybody at? All I see is people bashing. I don't see nobody coming to the crusade of helping and defend my friend. So I'm still trying to do it without getting sued and whatever else, But I'm just too sensitive to it. I was so broke down dealing with my mom. Just getting guardianship of her. It was like a 3-year process. And I think all my life I've struggled with depression and anxiety, but I didn't know what it was called. Black people just tell you, go sleep, wake up, you're going to do better tomorrow. They always give you a Bible verse, joy come in the morning.
Yeah, true.
That's not always true. So I just kind of stumbled through life. But when I got to college and definitely in my adulthood, it was like, I got to figure this out. And I started actively seeking therapists and consistently going to therapy, reading more. I'm a reader. I'm a statistic. I just want to know. And I was lucky enough to come back to Macon and meet people that had a hand in actually getting me to New York, people that worked at DFACS and stuff like that, just different things like that. So I was able to piece my story together in a way that made me feel better about it. But it's just watching Married at First Sight and watching that unfold from the beginning. And that's the craziest part. I had no idea what was actually about to unfold because I'm sitting there watching it like you guys.
Okay.
After the wedding night, I'm just I'm out for my own psyche. I know I'm in communications, but I don't know everything that's happening. I live in Macon, not Atlanta. So really watching the show, I'm watching a lot of this stuff.
Like we are.
Yes. And it's Paige is able to communicate, but only so much. And she's telling me stuff as it's happening.
But you can't, it's hard to piece together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, that be that up and down stuff. Like even hearing someone tell you what they're going through, I'm like, what? What, baby? What? You know, I couldn't even really keep up. So then, watching it back, I was like, oh my dear God. Like, and then like, it was just like no ownership of what was happening. And I'm just like, I mean, what is going on? How do we cover everybody's mental health treatment like for the next 3 years? Like, what do we do? Because
that's a lot that was going on. So obviously, I know, obviously, so you got bits and parts of information, and then you're seeing it on the screen, and then you're kind of then probably putting it all together. You're in that moment, you're a friend, and I'm not even talking about specifically Paige, but I'm talking about in general for anybody. You're that friend now, getting that piece of information at that time. Did you feel qualified at that moment when you're getting those pieces of information to be able to help as best as you? Because obviously now we're talking from a post perspective where you've gone to research, you know this, and you're way more aware now, right? And in that moment when all that information was coming to you, did you feel that you were ready or had enough knowledge to be able to deal with that situation accordingly? How you would look at it now?
No, not at all. And that's the thing. One thing that I also want to say is that I'm not a licensed mental health professional. So, and I think that's a problem. Like, we be trying to use our friends like they're therapists, and they're not. Sometimes your friends who have those best intentions are leading you to nowhere because they're responding from their trauma, from their past, from their thoughts and opinions. That's not what therapists do. Therapists give you a guided, unbiased plan to help you get through whatever you're going through. So I did not feel qualified. I gave my opinion. And I think from what you can see, from what I'm sharing, you can imagine what that opinion was, especially if I said peace out after the wedding night. But at the end of the day, like, a person is going to make the choices that they're making. And again, if a person is dealing with any type of abuse, you can't
pull them out.
And the thing is, it's going in there. What I'm saying is just going in there with the abuse. So it's like, I don't know how that's registering to a person. And again, it's not just Paige. I've seen other abused friends that were physically abused. And they're still with those people, some of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so give me a break about all that. Oh, I would have been gone. Da, da, da. Okay, but a lot of people don't leave.
That's true.
But a lot of people are having conversations where they feel like they can't leave. If it was so easy to leave, they wouldn't have, like, whole organizations committed to like anonymously getting people out. Like, because that's how bad it gets. You pretty much end up in like witness protection plan trying to get away from men at certain points. Like, it's obviously not that easy, and it obviously works if all these women, 27,000 people a month calling, aren't just walking away every month. Like, you know, so I just feel like I'm not a full expert. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a relationship expert, but I want people to talk more about these things. I don't see people having a lot of these conversations. I hear she's stupid. What's wrong with your friend? Why she ain't leave? Where the people at? Why ain't y'all throw over the table at the wedding? And da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, like, I couldn't have known what was to come, but I did try to speak up again. You are more than just a beautiful woman with ovaries, and he needs to recognize that real quick. Were my exact words. You know, he needs to keep his commentary to a minimum. If you go back and look at episode 2, that's exactly what I said at the table. Everybody was not in agreement with what I was saying. So I didn't want to be the rah-rah, big, angry black chick, you know? So I'm just kind of like trying to keep it a little demure. Again, I have family, friends, and a career. I don't want to get fired for acting a fool on TV or something, or be remembered as the girl that showed out or Married at First Sight.
Shut up.
So, you know, I just wanted to have this conversation to kind of share that perspective with people, because I up until I started having these type of conversations, I didn't see too many people even discussing it from this angle.
Yeah, I mean, and I think obviously you were between a rock and a hard place. I think as a friend, and just that people understand, like, you know, if I haven't dealt as much with, in terms of abusive relationships, in terms of romantic, but done a lot of work around cults, and they work on a very similar pattern of operation. They use the same tactics and use the same set of tools to get the person to be under duress. And if you know anything about cults, let me tell you something. You can't drag anybody out. You physically can't, unless you're going to physically kidnap them. lock them away in a chamber like they are Snow White and keep them away, you are not going to be able to change that person's mind by pulling them from there, because it honestly, it's almost like, I don't know how that thing that goes around your fingers and your fingers get stuck in the tube, right? It's like once the fingers are there, it's a very difficult process to get the fingers out. And this is what the equivalent of what someone goes into a manipulative relationship. So it's not a case of just, say this and the person will hear and they will automatically understand. And, there was a lot of, you have to think as well, in wedding day, there was a lot of emotions, you know what I'm saying? Dreams are coming true, and you've got to give it some time as well. Because sometimes you may think, I don't want to do something too quickly because it may just be, I'm seeing things, and I want to make sure that it is what it is. I think for us as an audience, it was tough because we're seeing everything at once.
Yeah.
So every episode, we're seeing something brand new. Forgetting that there are 24 hours in a day, we don't see all the other sides, and it can be very difficult when you are in those situations. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying about, the situation in terms of being able to, you said what you said and you had to leave it at that. There's nothing more you can't force a person to do it what you want. You have to say what you say at that time and kind of leave it. I mean, obviously for you as a perspective, as a friend outside, I'm looking at it going again, what makes people stay in these relationships? I know you mentioned a little bit about it, but what keeps people, one of my things was that, and this is not even to do with Paige, it's more to do with relationships, that the highs and lows, yes, but sex is a very big thing. And I'm just talking about in general, because I've been in a situation where I stayed too long in a relationship and it was not healthy at all.
But the sex was good, wasn't it?
But the sex was fire. So it's like, the sex was even good, or the sex was just keeping me there at least. Right. It was changing how I was looking at the information. Does sex play a part in how we look at these relationships?
I definitely think so. You've heard people talk about trauma bonds or soul ties and things like that. And I think, just speaking for myself, because I only can, I've definitely stayed around because the D was good. And I was like, I'm loving this. And he ain't calling, he ain't texting, he ain't really want to be with me. But when he comes over, I'm having a great time. And so that's enough to cloud me for a while, right? Until it's like, that's not enough. Or I want more, or I actually feel bad after the sex now. The sex is not even masking the feelings. Now I actually feel used and hurt. So I think there's oxytocin is the hormone that's produced when males and females have sex. And it's so funny, like I think oxytocin goes down in men and it goes up in women or something. You have to look at all the science of it, because I could be completely wrong there. But that is the love hormone, they say. Yeah. So we actually have a chemical imbalance that happens. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, how did you fall for him? My body told me to, literally. Like, I allowed this person in, and now there's a chemical in my brain telling me that he's the one, literally. And it starts there, and I'm assuming with more, it's like built up more. But then again, I also think that the sex leads to shame. Ooh. And so as a woman, once you've allowed someone to enter your body, especially if people know that you've allowed this person into your body, you don't want people to know that the person that you let in sleep with you is treating you poorly. So it's like, I feel like that spurs that competition. Like, oh no, I'm gonna show them that he does care, or I'm gonna show them that, like, this isn't oh, did I get disconnected?
No, you're still there.
Okay, my camera is delayed. So, but like, I think I don't know. I think thinking about back to a recent situationship, like, I kind of felt this is over a year of like being in a situationship with this man, and I just felt like I want to prove to you that I'm the right one or something. Like, and even if that involves, like, when we are having sex, I'm trying to show out or whatever. Yeah, or whatever, or then now I'm trying to pull back the sex to lure you back in or something. Like, I'm basically weaponizing sex. And that, I think, when you just know you in some toxic, unhealthy stuff. And that's what the whole relationship is pretty much based around. But that's been my own personal experience. Like, I don't know.
What is that? What is that? When you talk about weaponizing sex, and that's, what do you mean by that?
Oh yeah, you know how like people, you ain't getting none tonight, or you're
Okay,
trying to
to get power back.
always, you're trying to always put it out. A guy, he will, you wear the lingerie and open up the door, and everything. He will definitely sleep with you and still leave if he doesn't want to be there. Like, so
Mm.
you're trying to like do all these things to like weaponize your sex and your femininity and your body. And I'm just speaking as a straight woman. This is the only experiences I've really had, but I'm assuming trans or bi or men do things like this. You're trying to lure this person in and
Mm.
really show out for them, do the body rubs and all this stuff. And like, if a person doesn't care about you, they don't care about you. They will take all the body rubs, they will take all the sex, and they will keep it moving. And I think that's when you have to realize, like, okay, where is my worth really? Well, am I really getting anything out of this? Like, even if it is pleasurable, is it really worth the
Staying in
pleasure?
this.
Yeah, like, you
Mm.
got to start weighing your pros and cons. And I don't think I've ever been in a situationship or with the F boy where I felt like, after a while, the sex
It's
outweighs,
worth it. Yeah.
yeah, the bad treatment. Like,
It
even
doesn't.
if it was good in the beginning, again, even the good
After
sex
it wears off.
makes me feel bad. It starts making me feel bad for real.
Let me ask a question. So, what? So, okay. So, what makes people? Because obviously, some people do get the strength momentarily, if you want to call it that, to leave, but then they come back. Like,
Mm.
what makes people? What What makes people go and then come back? What is drawing them back? What are the things that prevent them from fully leaving finally? Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'm sure a lot of women are in those situations where they leave and it's like right back again.
You got me thinking of that Ashanti song. Uh,
Ooh.
right in my head, I'm like, see, my days ago without you. I'm not gonna keep
It's
singing
all
it,
right. Yeah, we know
but
it.
right, but I really don't know. Like, thinking of other relationships, actual long-term relationship I've been in. Um, I think we both realized the relationship wasn't good for us, and we're friends now actually, but we kept coming back because we it seemed like a good idea.
Mm.
Like, it's like, based on where we were in life and our goals in life and our shared dreams and values, it was like, well, this should work. Like, we should be in this, like, or if I go out back to dating, am I gonna find someone who showed up like you? Because you had checked all
Mm.
my boxes off. So if you checked all my boxes off, why you ain't acting right? Or why you not
Mm.
what I thought someone who checked my boxes would act like, or being the way I want, cuddling or holding or being fully honest or wanting to take the trips, whatever it is. Like, why is everything not coming with you checking off the boxes? And I think we checked off the boxes to be really great friends, but there were certain boxes I didn't even have on the list that really, really were important, like honesty, like,
Mm.
great communication skills, like that person being active with developing healthy lifestyle habits, or now my biggest thing is like, do you have childhood trauma? And if so, what have you done to address it so you don't project all that on me? And
Mm.
so I realized that there were other things that I wasn't considering, and you checking these boxes I had didn't mean nothing, because you could be tall, you could be fine, you could have the degrees, you could have the career, but if you still bashing me and treating me poorly, and I gotta go put on makeup and come out and act like we all good,
Everything's
like,
okay. Hmm.
right, then I might as well like just be by myself, like, So I think those
So,
things might be why people come back.
so you mentioned something that was really interesting. So, in regards to that, you said almost like I'll put it in these words: trying to solve the mystery. You said about obviously how you said in a part where okay things are not adding up, so something's working, but
Uh,
then other parts are not working. You're like, okay, so you tick certain boxes, but why are you not doing like maybe the basics even? So you doing exceptional stuff, but you ain't doing the basics. Why not? And then you're like almost trying to solve the mystery as to why the person isn't trying to do the basics. And is there a side of maybe people who are in sometimes in these situations that they try to solve the puzzle and try to help solve that puzzle by trying to get that man to change into doing those basic things that they need maybe?
no, what I think, if I'm thinking about how I was feeling in those situations,
Yeah.
you start trying to solve the mystery of what's wrong with you. See, you internalize it and it triggers that insecurity. So for me, I'm like, okay, you're not doing these things because I'm not showing up like this. So let me
Okay.
dress different. Let me wear different perfume. Let me wear different makeup. Let me go to the gym. Let me eat different. Like, you start changing yourself because you can't change that other person. How he showed up in the beginning of the relationship is how he's showing up at the end. He didn't do nothing different than what he did on day one. And I looked past every single red flag and was like, yes, love is blind, but the neighbors aren't. That's the thing. So people can clearly see what you be trying to look past because you all in love and lust. So I think that once you start trying to change yourself and internalizing that and feeling like you're not bringing something that's causing them to act the way they're acting, it's time to leave. And I think what I also saw was that some people, especially like high achieving people, they have not mastered the art of failing. And like we
Ooh, no, wait, don't skip that, sis. Don't skip that. Don't skip that part. Come back and just come and say that again, because I think people need to understand. Because this is a lot of us. A lot of us are educated to a high standard and assume that is relationship ethics and relationship knowledge as well, and wisdom. Just that part again, sis.
yes, like basically you people have not mastered the art of failure. And I think especially in minority communities, like there's so much pressure to like be the first generation, or to like, you know, be the first high earner in the family, or the first whatever it is. Like, we have so much pressures in these minority communities that we oftentimes like don't feel like we could fail at anything and just let some stuff go. Some stuff you need to walk away from. Some stuff you need to get a big old fat F on because it's not for you. It does not serve you. It's not helping you. Whatever the language is, you need to tell yourself. But instead, you just want to achieve. You want to win. You want to get it right. That you just subjecting yourself to this unnecessary torture. And if you just master the art of failing and walking away and learning how to gracefully say, this didn't work out for me, better luck next time, we would be getting out of stuff way quicker. Because I think going back to those relationships, you really got me thinking now. I wanted to get it right, to prove to him, to prove to myself, to prove to my friends, like, nah, all y'all wrong, I'm right.
True.
I got this. This is the love of my life, like I told you. We married, and I ain't married to none of the people that I was trying to prove all that stuff right with. But it's like, you know, I think that if we just feel comfortable failing, and the crazier part too, and I gotta research more of this on my own as well, but there's people that are super successful, you know, the millionaires, the billionaires, they will tell you that one of their greatest secrets is failing. They'll even tell you to fail fast and fail quick. Hurry up and go fail so you know what don't work, so you can get to what works. Because like, if you keep trying, you're gonna get it right. Like the Thomas Edison and the light bulb or whatever. He said he didn't fail 10,000 times. He just learned 990,000 whatever ways that it didn't work or whatever. You know, and then he got the light bulb. And so I don't think people talk about those moments. And I dare say maybe even social media and the internet and movies, like they mess up those moments for us. Cause like, I'm a movie head, but you ever notice like they don't show you those people taking a shower or in the bathroom or changing the pad, or they're not showing you all the in-between living scenes that aren't pretty. They just wake up every day like this and go outside and they're just beautiful, and you really watching TV and watching movies thinking this is how your life is going to work. And then when you got hemorrhoids, you like, no, that's not what was in the movie. You need to go address your problem. Sorry, I just got crazy analogies. I try to use extreme examples, but it's true.
You're good.
You know, they'd be like, oh, in the love movie, you know, she didn't go through these things. That's because you don't eat well. And you need to, she didn't show you what she was eating. If she did, she would have meal prepped, you know? So it's just like, I'm just going all over the place. But my point is like, people are looking to movies and TVs and then social media, people's highlight reels. People literally are showing you the best moments of their lives. Okay, they some of them are curating the best moments that didn't even happen. Like I've seen articles where a mother like took a picture of her child with her. This is probably not the exact story, but me and my analogies. The mom took her kid to the zoo and took a picture with her and her kid at the zoo and posted it on Instagram, put all the filters and everything, and then got back in the car and left. They didn't even go to the zoo. That's Instagram. And you're looking at this highlight reel of imaginary and filtered and edited like stories and videos and pictures, and you're comparing yourself to that and wondering why when you're in your house and you got this pile of laundry and everything, why your life is not looking at Instagram. They didn't show you when they hired the person to pick up the laundry. They didn't show you when they got the house cleaner. They didn't even show you going in the zoo because they didn't even go. But that's what you're comparing your life to. And then we're all depressed, we're upset, we're we're basically like comparing and despairing. We're thinking we're behind. None of us are focused on our lives. None of us are managing our mental. None of us are exiting from these traumatic relationships. And the traumatic relationships aren't just romantic. They could be at work. They could be with some of your little frenemies out there. And so I just feel like, this is the perfect time after the COVID pandemic. Luckily, Married at First Sight is ending sort of in this mental health month awareness. And I just feel like somehow I'm called to like have this conversation with people and share my perspective and just kind of use the things that I've been through to help other people circumvent it. Like, don't go through what I went through. Don't spend all these years not in therapy. Don't spend all this time beating yourself up and blaming yourself for being in the F-boy relationship too long and all this other stuff, or not being cute and fly like your friends because all you could barely do is get out of bed that day. Like, and stop bashing people because they not walking out in red bottoms with their hair laid and the lace front glued and all this other stuff, because usually that's a sign that a person is going through a hard time, you jerk. I'm just like probably triggered right there. But
no, you're good.
I feel like people bash people when they be looking like what they going through. And if you would just stop and have a conversation with people, or just create a space to allow them to be honest about what they're feeling, we would not be losing people. And in the Black community, it's super important. Our young boys, I just read an article that a first grader killed himself and told his mama he was too tired. He was tired. Are you tired in first grade? Like, and I don't mean to make a joke, but like, we're creating those environments. We're the ones that are bashing people online, cyberbullying, telling people that they ugly, they don't look right, and all sorts of stuff. Why are you spending so much time doing that? And my thing is, I don't think that it's all going to stop after this conversation.
Of course.
But I need more people to gear up and get to combating it. If you got trolls calling you ugly, why don't we have the trolls that are out there calling everybody pretty? If you got people out there having the conversations about what's wrong with everybody, why don't we have a whole crew of people just out there telling you what's right? We could pick a day. I think there already is a day that is like National Compliment Day. You could just pick a random person and go say, hey, you're beautiful. Or, hey, I love your lamp in the background. I don't know, whatever it is, but like, we could more actively use social media, use the internet to help people, to push these conversations, to not just bash the girl and be like, okay, she should have left, but she didn't. So why do you think that? Or what can we do to like make sure none of my people ever feel like they can't leave or something like that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's time for us to just have better conversations, especially in the Black community. I truly care about the Black community. It's a passion. Watching my mom live on the streets 30 years, it used to make me mad. Like, how she just out here like that? Like, but people could only do as much as they knew to do, in my family. And then also seeing that all the time, it makes people like shut down and become desensitized. So I think God really created this scenario where I ended up getting adopted, going to the Bronx and coming back. And I had all the energy in the world, plus a New York attitude, to kind of get this stuff done down here. Whereas my sister will tell you stories about, the kids on the bus making fun of the crazy woman out the window. And when she goes and looks, it's her mom, or it's our mom. You know what I'm saying? So how do I then tell someone who had to live through that, you should have adopted her, you should have figured this out? Like, trauma be affecting people.
Yep.
you know, and I think it's just time for us to discuss trauma, discuss like what it looks like, how it shows up, the isolation, you know, the not getting out of bed, the not showering, the not brushing your teeth, the not cleaning your house, and start connecting people to resources. There are people that'll come clean your house. There are people that'll come pick up and drop off your laundry. I have friends. My best friend Kiki, shout out to Kiki. She literally having a baby right now. My best friend, and this is public knowledge, lost both her parents and had a miscarriage within like a 1 month span due to COVID last year.
Ooh.
Okay, and luckily today she's about to have a healthy baby. She's literally in labor as we speak, and that's the power of God. A whole year later, giving her a miracle, but it's hard dealing with that grief. And in the same week that you're bringing a child into the world, you're celebrating the 1 year anniversary of your father passing. You know, these are the things that we don't talk about because we're too busy. All we know how to do is teach people how to do the makeup and glue on the hair and get fly. Like, we had enough tutorials about that. And everybody should know how to contour by now. So now let's talk about the therapy. Because therapy and access to
therapy
sources should be as easy to get as McDonald's.
Honestly, I don't understand why it's not. It's a struggle. It's not very publicized at all, therapy, and this is something that we talk about on the channel a lot. I know it gets it gets bantered a lot from people who are watching. Maybe they're on the show and they see that we talk about therapy, but it's like, you know, it's and even when we talk about therapy, what we're talking about really actually is doing the emotional work. So even when I do like coaching with people 1-to-1, we go back to the beginning. Because as much as it's amazing to deal with the issue right now, we got to start cutting at the root and not at the branch. If I start cutting at the branch, it's only going to grow back again. So if we don't deal with the root and get you forward, then nothing really changes. All we do is glossing it over. Or we do a little part of the work, but then something else will come in. And so a lot of the times, you know, sometimes even in and that's anything in life. If you talk about the body, our physical makeup, sometimes your leg could be hurting, but actually the issue actually isn't your leg, it's your back. There is something there's something in your back that's affecting it, and now the flow of the blood that goes to the leg is also affected. So it looks like it's just my leg. So when you go to your physiotherapist, he's like, yeah, I've worked the leg. And you're still getting some minor problems. You're like, why am I still got minor problems? Actually, the issue is the back, and oftentimes we don't have as much. We don't have as much pool to draw from, or seemingly we don't see the platforms where we can draw from those pools to be able to be educated in those points. I remember I hurt my back. I think it was some years ago, like 3 years ago. And I was on YouTube and I was like, blood, my back is killing it, bro. And I was just tapping on YouTube, like how to fix the back, blah, 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 blah. And I just went on this guy's YouTube, and this is the kind of stuff that he does, right? And he was just like, listen, just get on the wall and push your hip in. I'm like, what the hell is that gonna do? Do you know my back is hurting, bro? And you're telling me to put my elbow here and lean in. Listen, I did that for 2 weeks, the back was gone. Why am I saying this? It's if I never saw his YouTube, if I never saw his platform, if I never saw there's a pool of resources to draw from, I would have been going probably to the doctor or physiotherapist, or better yet, I might have just tried to play it through and just, you know, taking some pills, right? So you're right. I think we need more of those spaces or platforms that we can see more visibly, that people can tap into, so they can draw onto healing. I don't know if you want to add on to that as well, sis. Sorry.
Honestly, you segued me perfectly to talk more about Making Headspace, because Making Headspace came about from an idea where I'm like, I want to do a mental health pop-up gym. I had looked around, and there was another lady, excuse me, I can't think of her name right now.
That's right.
But she started doing these mental health pop-up gyms in major cities. And I was like, this is what we need in Macon, because these people crazy. And also, I want to get the help from me too. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this pop-up. I wrote a grant, and the Emerging Cities Champion program picked me and gave me $5,000 for my idea. And this was a program that was done by a nonprofit based from Toronto, Canada, called 880 Cities. Shout out to 880 Cities. Thank you for believing in me first. So now they gave me the $5,000. I can do one event, and that's what I'm supposed to do. And all these different things are happening. I'm facing different obstacles. And then COVID hits. And I'm like, I'm trying to gather people, and everybody just said no more gathering. Like, okay. And so I was like, you know what? I still want people to get to these resources. I'm going to make it a website. And so I launched maconheadspace.com. And I looked up all the local therapists in the area I could find and put them all on a map there. I also started an initiative called Park Prescriptions, Macon Bib. Park Prescriptions is a national initiative. I just started the local chapter of Macon Bib. And they do programs like Walk with the Doc. And they believe that parks, you can prescribe parks to people instead of medicine. So you're supposed to go outside to treat hypertension, diabetes, obesity, we know, but also anxiety, depression, things like that. So you can walk outside with the doctor, or you can just go to the Macon Headspace website and see all the parks in your area and just pick a park to go to. And so a part of the pop-up gyms is that whole Park Prescriptions movement. And so after COVID, I teamed up with a couple of friends of mine, hey, Christelle and Andrea, and we wrote a proposal to our mayor, and we received $600,000 to do Macon Mental Health Matters here in Macon, Georgia. And I was an allied partner of that. And I ended up being able to do those mental health pop-up gyms around the entire city. So I went from being able to do one pop-up to doing 24.
Ooh,
and
wow.
Two a month for the rest of the year. And at those pop-ups, people come. I have a Zen tea garden. Again, I already told y'all I'm really super pro-Black, so I want to support all people. I have different initiatives for that, but this first pop-up I did have a lot of Black vendors. So I had tea that has been produced by Black vendors there, hemp tea too at that, produced by Black vendors there. I had these Love self-care boxes, shout out to Muse Dixon, that has essential oils, candles, like a detox bath salt, all these different things to like love on yourself and give yourself affirmations. That I gave those out as raffles in addition to t-shirts. So people are able to sit and chill in the Zen tea garden, but they're also able to participate in a drum circle or listen to poetry, do a meditation, do yoga, and do different things that all is going to help with the care and keeping of their mind and body. And so I'm doing these in low income neighborhoods. I'm bringing it to them. Because a lot of times people say they don't want to go or they're nervous. We still live in America, speaking for America now, where you know, we've had, the Black community has had different experiments on them, and you know, they've had different issues with the medical community. So it's kind of hard to be trusting when you have such history that tells you not to trust. So I think that the mental health pop-up gyms do two things. One, they bring the resources to the people in their neighborhood, in their community, and it shows them a park in their area that they can now use. So they may have never even used this park before because they only go there to play basketball or just chill or whatever. Then two, it also gives them access to more mental wellness resources than just therapy. Because unfortunately, everyone is just not going to go to therapy. So alongside this initiative, we'll bring free mental health therapy services to the local rec centers. So if you come to my pop-up, you have a mini one-on-one therapy session, a 15-minute therapy consultation. You like the therapist, you can keep going ongoing services for free. But this is a new initiative in my town. And again, we only got $600,000. I know that sounds like a lot, but
it's not a lot, trust me.
Services, exactly.
Wow.
We're hoping to treat up to 300 people. We need more money. We need more services, and we need more, exposure to these different mental wellness techniques. And that's what Macon Headspace is hopefully going to do. But there's other organizations like mine that are trying to do this. There's a lot of Psychs of Color and others on Instagram that are posting and trying to get more resources out like this. And it's not just in the Black community, it's in the LGBT community, it's in specifically for women, it's for Asian communities, Native American communities. Native Americans have some of the worst mental health statistics in America. The worst, and followed by LGBTQ. And then minorities, we need these services, excuse me, and we need organizations that are going to be geared directly to our audience. And then another thing I can share, Georgia, just because, I'm familiar with my state, is number 51 out of all states, including DC, for access to mental health at 2021. We are at the bottom of the list for access to mental health. And they factor in a number of things, insurance and all sorts of stuff. So there can't be too much competition in Georgia, baby. You need to bring these organizations here because we don't have them. And COVID has opened up virtual resources, but again, our country has licensing, protocols. A therapist license in Georgia can't practice in New York unless they got licensed there too. So it's time for us to have these conversations so we can change these policies and figure out the best way to get this help to our towns, to our resources, to our children, so that we're not losing as many lives. We're not watching our friends be in relationships, and people can get the help from someone trained to help them, rather than just hear you saying, girl, why, or girl, run, or you stupid, or whatever it is that you think you're saying that's helping. Like, that hasn't saved a life yet.
I love those points, man. Whew, it's been a deep one. It's been a deep one, and I can see many people have been affected in a positive way by this conversation. I mean, I had hope for the conversation, but they've really taken it to another level. So they've obviously, this is obviously one of those conversations that's really important. I think we knew that already, but it's just when you do have the conversation, you don't realize how important it is to have these type of conversations as well. And so I guess obviously, is it? I think I saw it was a good question that someone asked. Is there a space where we can actually help? Contribute towards some of the great work that you are doing to help, with these resources and particular things you're doing at the moment?
Right now, what I will say is you can cash at me. I know that sounds so boogie, but I've actually applied for my 501c3 exemption, and I haven't got it finalized back from the state yet or from the federal level yet. So I don't have a donate button that I could send you. But I will put the monies aside. I have a separate, my nonprofit is registered on the state level. So I have a separate account for it, and I will definitely put all the monies in there. So if you do cash at me, it's Fancy Nancy, FANCINANC. I'll put that in the chat. And I think that's probably the best way right now to send me any funds. I wasn't expecting you to ask for any funding or anything like that. But all monies do help, and every dollar, and I will send you a receipt. I will send you pictures. I will send you whatever you need. If you sent me money, you want to know where it went, I will send it to you, because it's going to go to one of these 24 mental health pop-up gyms, or it's going to go to making sure that Macon Headspace is certified and has all the credentials in the state. Those are the only two ways it's going to go, because I work full time so that I could cover the cost of my bills and so that I could provide these services like in my free time. So the Cash App again is Fancy Nancy. I'm gonna put it up on the screen just to make sure I'm right, because I am not one of the people that give out the Cash App. You know how people be like, oh, it's my birthday. I haven't done that, so I'm hoping I'm telling y'all the right thing for y'all. Send another Nancy.
If you spell it for me, I'll put it on the screen for you. Go for it.
Okay, it's okay, let me look. It is, oh yeah, I was right. It's FANCINANC. And that's my
NANC, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even find my own camera.
I wasn't right. So FANCI.
Yeah, the fancy
NANC, yeah.
Yes, and it's like my name is Nancy Cleveland, so it's like Nancy.
Okay, cool. There's no gap in between it, just all one word, yeah.
It's all one word, and then this is I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see this, but this is the QR code. I don't really know if that's going to do anything for you, but I just felt like it was going to. Again, I will definitely put the monies to Macon Headspace, and I will show you that. And this is all I've been doing. I worked with Mercer University this year, which is a local college, to come up with my logo and my branding. Beautiful. So a young college student did all this for me, and my logo. And she was also a female. I try to support women and minority businesses. And so I'm building the plane as I fly, but I definitely, my worst fear was that people would think I was trying to capitalize off of my friend's pain, or that I was chasing clout because I wanted to speak out. And it's like, oh, well, you was just a bridesmaid type thing. But I get that, and I'm definitely not trying to clout chase or whatever. And I don't really think I said anything that was that spectacular where you would now think I'm trying to clout chase. But my point is to just share and be vulnerable and be authentic. So I create that space for other people to do it, and for people to speak up on these things, support their friends better, and just like, I don't know, like I just, if a year from now, you know, more people know about mental wellness resources in the UK or the US. If there's more organizations supporting women and minorities to get access to mental wellness resources, or there's, you know, just more women that feel like they can safely leave these type of situations, or men and trans people who can leave or talk to their friend about what they're going through, then I will feel like all this was worth it, and whatever backlash I've gotten or will get is worth it, because
you haven't got it on here, that's for sure, so don't worry. You've got good vibes from here, trust me, you got all good vibes here.
Okay, good. I don't know how you get comments, because I'll be looking, but I can't process.
Oh, it's actually on your I'll tell you later, because if you do it now, it'll be long. But you know, but you know, I mean, I really do appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story and sharing the great work that you're doing as well. I guess the final question is there any, how do we follow you? How do we follow you? So maybe not support you necessarily financially, but how do we follow you? Is there any social platforms we can follow you on as well?
Yes, I'm on Instagram, and my Instagram name is the same thing, Fancy Nancy, spelled the same way as my Cash App. And I'm Nancy Joe Cleveland. Joe is just J-O. Don't ask me why my mama named me that, but Nancy Joe Cleveland is my name on Facebook if you want to add me there. And you can follow Macon Headspace. You can go to MaconHeadspace.com, and Macon Headspace is our Facebook page name and our Instagram name.
Beautiful. So
I'm also looking for interns that can help me. So if anybody wants to help me with all these social media and website updates, please.
Listen, it's not easy.
And I will definitely connect you, because I have a lot going on. It's time to build a better team. But in the meantime, I just wanted to, you know, defend my friend, and you know, we are Deltas as well. And I wanted our organization to know that we are trying to uplift each other, since sisterhood is our core value. And that's pretty much, I don't know, went on a whole.
You've done that. No, sis, you've done that. You've done that. You've done that and exceeded. Honestly, it was a great conversation, and I'm more than sure we're gonna have you on here again sometime soon, because I think this is a conversation that needs to be had right through. And so I definitely believe that we should be, you know, pushing for more of these kind of conversations to bring awareness. First of all, you know, that's the first level. There's awareness, and then obviously, hopefully, we can, as you're doing great work, other people will see the light shining, and also, you know, show themselves out as well, so that we can see that different platforms to go to. You mentioned a few as well, and I'm sure I'll grab the details from you so I can put it in the description box as well, because I'm sure some people want to know where to go to. So I'll grab that from yourself after we finish. But we've come to the end of this lovely conversation. I want to thank the audience first of all, because listen, it was really respectful in a conversation chat. I was at the same time looking at them today to make sure there's no nonsense in there. But honestly, it was really, really powerful stuff in there. Many people were touched by this conversation, and I know they've called for more kinds of conversation like this. So I really want to be able to thank yourself, Nancy, for veiling yourself in this conversation. And you've taken that leap of faith. And I believe you've taken the right leap of faith. And it's shown here today. So we pray that every endeavor that you've got going on is going to be successful. And like you said, fail fast.
Yeah, I've done plenty of that. So, you know, hopefully, like you said, this is the right leap of faith, because I was nervous to come on or even speak out. But I'm glad that I did, and listening to what your feedback was and reading comments and things like that. I think it was the right thing to do. So thank you guys.
There is an end note I need to make. So thank you. Do you know what? It just came to my head. You said something which is so true. So I want to offer an apology, because like you mentioned, listen, I have to always own up to my mistakes. So you're right. When I did one of my reviews, and actually I think one of the girls did correct me in the comment section, that I used the word big, and it was the wrong wording at the time. It was the wrong wording. It was a wrong, absolute wrong wording. So anybody out there, listen, I want to apologize first and foremost. I think we should always lead in that respect, and show that sometimes you are, when you're wrong, just admit you are wrong. And I was wrong when I mentioned that. So I want to offer you my sincere apology for using those terms and those words at that point in time. And thank you for calling me out on that. It's good. You know, we have to help each other to be able to grow. So again, I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Audience, we are going to see you soon again. All right, tomorrow I've got another amazing interview for you guys. Okay, I've got Ready to Love's Kyra for you as well. So the interviews are not stopping. The great stuff and the great conversations are not ending. But for tonight, okay, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm going to have to let you guys go and simmer on some of the great conversation that Nancy has brought to the table. And we're going to see you guys soon. So stay hydrated, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Once again, appreciate you guys. Stay locked and loaded.